I'll give you two that are about tri-type, and you can kind of merge them or pick. Someone asked, how do you determine an order of your tri-type? And then someone else asked, and how did you come up with the Tritype names?
That's a wonderful question. And one of the most difficult things I had to do, because I had to get people of all three tritypes to agree on the word. A 4 might say, no, it needs to be this word. A 7 might say, no, it needs to be this word. An 8 might say, it needs to be this word. But the only one they could agree on is what you see. And to me, that's important because I could look at the different tritypes and name them. But how do the types name themselves? And what did it take to get them to agree was very meaningful. And then testing the names became important. Like with one tritype, it was like, healing arts, the healer. And people would send me feedback, well, I'm not a healer. And I go, oh, okay. What do you do as a profession? And they go, well, I'm a nurse. I'm a nuts and bolts nurse, or I'm a doctor. Or, I do Reiki work, or whatever it is. But to me, that's still a healer. That's still someone doing something for others. As to what, I would see as a healer, but they all agreed after the fact. But just that word healer just didn't sit right with them. And to me, that's important because what I want most of all is for types to see themselves even more than how we see those types. So thank you so very, very much. I really enjoy this. And what I appreciate most of all is your willingness to share or to consider the evolution of the Enneagram and the things that ended up being errors quite by accident. And when you understand what was intended, it shifts a little bit. Many of you that have studied the Enneagram for a long time already know that. You've come up with your own way of recognizing nuances that are important that weren't in the original books that you might have read or trainings you might have attended, because that's certainly what happened to me. I modified with each training and even in 2005, when I went to Ichazo's intensive and spent a year on Maui and became great friends with Ichazo's teachers that taught his 40-day training and the domains of consciousness, the 2-week training, and then workshops, where they did like 40, 50 of these or more. And they gave me the actual facts about what happened when with the Enneagram. And one fact that's important that I probably should mention is that Ichazo didn't use even fixations in that first training in Eureka. Now, I remember he had 2 Eurekas, Eureka group in Eureka, Chile, and then the Eureka training that included the Enneagram. That was a 10-month training. That was in 1970, July 1st of 1970. But one of the teachers was in Eureka, Chile, and she knows what was taught and wasn't taught. And apparently the fixations didn't come till later. And they also came as a result of the collaboration with Naranjo as a psychiatrist, giving his feedback on what he knew about people. So what Ichazo was intending, and then Naranjo explaining it from a psychological perspective. Because Naranjo wasn't just a psychiatrist, he was also a deeply spiritual man that pursued many different things. And spirituality in particular, beginning in 1970, actually, right after Easter, 1970, had a traumatic experience losing his son, and that put him into wanting to understand why, and he more seriously went on his spiritual journey. But there's a lot of things that aren't taught in the history of the Enneagram because, or accurately, because it was unknown. So that's why my focus is to get people at the source, whether it was questions I asked Naranjo myself or people attending these different events. And like most people don't know, subtypes weren't taught in their full way until 1996. So they thought it was complete the way Naranjo was teaching it in 1971 to 73. It was not. According out of the mouth of Naranjo, he also, that was his thing. And in the beginning, he did not want to in any way offend Ichazo, so he didn't say that was his work until just about 10 years ago. But up until 10 years ago, he didn't even reveal that. He happened to tell me only because he was looking at my work and what he'd noticed and what I found and what he thought was really true. But otherwise, I wouldn't have known that. You can find it on YouTube. A couple of the more recent YouTube interviews with Conscious TV, is that what it's called for those, anybody? Yeah. Anyhow, so I encourage you to understand how things change, because it was also believed that the Enneagram came from the Sufis. Do the Sufis dance to the Enneagram symbol? Absolutely. Did the Enneagram personality come from the Sufis? Absolutely not. But Naranjo said that it just made it seem more important. And Ichazo did it, so he carried on with it, because then people would be more inclined to look at it having value. And that's true of anything that's new. People want to see, well, where did it come from? For many years, Tritype was on Wikipedia. And then suddenly it was taken down. It was up for about 6 or 7 years, and then it was taken down. And the reason was it was already covered in Enneagram Personality, which is not actually. Tritype's not even up there. But the point being is that people didn't know that. And if you don't know something, you don't realize that someone could be accurate, but they have more information. So you always want to look at how people know what they know, where they got it, and how long they've worked with people, and what they've found themselves they want to modify or teach a little differently. Because I found that even before I met Naranjo and did that training. I mean, I found it with every training I went to. I found something really like a gem from each teacher. And so that would go into my training. So that's what I encourage you to do, is find the source. Go back to the source and see if you can find someone that actually knows directly from someone what was true and what was an error that was transmitted. So I didn't know till I was in Hawaii in 2005 for a year, some of the errors in transmission. Some I knew from Naranjo, but otherwise, no, I learned new ones. I mean, I saw all the Enneagons, the whole, he wasn't supposed to share it with me, but he shared everything about the 40-day training and the domains of consciousness and all the dichotomies, all the great stuff of Ichazo. Okay? So thank you.